Today I'm here with Robin Sachs, and I want to thank you, Robin, for being willing to join me on my expert series of professionals who deal with anxiety and confidence. And I'd like to introduce you first. So, Professionally, Robin Sachs is a confidence coach, professional speaker, author, and motivator. Personally, she is a mom, wife, and friend. In a nutshell, Robin provides a simple and humorous bent on confidence, stress management, and personal branding to help you shift your self-talk, body language, and mental game so you can get out of your own way, stress less, and accomplish more. Her philosophy is simple. You are overthinking everything. Confidence is a skill, and like any other skill, it can be learned. That's what Robin helps people do, learn to be more confident. Robin has facilitated personal and professional development training internationally for companies including Microsoft, Panera, and American Greetings. Her professional experience includes being an on-air talent for NBC and ABC network affiliates. An award-winning journalist herself, she has also coached Emmy Award nominees and an Emmy Award winner. Wow. Robin's coaching clients range from young athletes to Fortune 500 executives. Her book, Get Off My Bus, How to Get Clarity, Get in the Driver's Seat, and Get Moving in Your Life, was nominated for Small Business Trends Small Business Book of 2010 and is available at all the usual suspects, including Amazon and Barnes and Noble. You can find dozens of free videos as well as a blog full of tools and tips at her website, robinjsachs.com. And I can speak to actually having been on your blog, Robin, and saw a more recent article about what we're all experiencing right now, uncertainty. And just because we are in the middle of uncertainty doesn't mean that we are uncertain about everything in our lives. So thank you. Yeah, it looks like you keep your blog updated and relevant to our times. Today,
Absolutely.
today what I'd like to have you share with us is just what you would say is your number one strategy that works for the clients who are suffering anxiety and who want to be more self-confident.
Now, Doreen, thank you for inviting me to share. One of the things, let me back up for a moment. You mentioned this, the uncertainty and certainty, and a lot of times we tend to focus on the uncertainty. We tend to focus on what I'm not able to do, what I can't do anymore, what other people are doing and saying and thinking and putting out there. And one of the greatest tools or tips, techniques, whatever you want to call it, is to simply pull back and build that certainty in. And one of the best ways to do that is really about your self-talk. And let me explain that a little bit. I can't ever control other people or what they're saying or what they're doing or what's happening. I can't always control situations. The one thing I can control that is directly related to my stress, my anxiety, my nervousness is what's happening in this 6 inches of real estate between my ears. And a lot of times it's very normal to make what's happening up there very negative or worrisome. Again, because we're focusing on what's uncertain or what I can't do. And this shift in self-talk to not just positive self-talk, because not everything needs to be positive and happy and bouncing off the walls, but to truthful self-talk and helpful self-talk. And that's something very different than what we typically do in our society. No judgment, just awareness. And the moment you have that awareness that I'm in control of what's happening up here, that one thing can make a huge difference. That little shift can have a huge impact on how you feel, on your attitudes, on your confidence, and simply whether you're feeling more stressed and anxious or more calm and in control. Because this over here feels very out of control and can spiral very quickly, as we know. If I'm feeling stressed, nervous, anxious, worried, the overthinking gets bigger. And that overthinking often is what continues that cycle. But when I realize I'm stressing or feeling anxious or nervous or worrying for something legitimate, and I choose to take control of that and say, that's happening, what can I do about it? And I start to think in terms of how can this self-talk start to serve me? And instead of blow this up much bigger than it may be, how can I say, this is real, this is happening, but what can I do? And now I start to take action and I can slowly move over into this more in control feel. And so I think the interesting thing that we really need to understand about that self-talk is that self-talk is often a bully in our head. You know, we sometimes are our biggest bully, and we really, our self-talk doesn't always serve us. But when you stop to think about the fact that it's all me, that's my script, I'm creating that, I'm saying it, it's my voice. If I start to manage that conversation in my head differently and I start to change the script, instead of being a bully sometimes, that self-talk becomes this wonderful supporter that serves me, this coach, this voice that seems to have my back and is really there to help me. And, you know, very simple examples, we don't even realize we're doing it sometimes. You know, if I have a mug here, if I'm talking and I go like this and I knock the mug off the table, oftentimes our bully self-talk might say something like, oh, you're such a klutz. My helpful self-talk might go, whoops, oh, I was moving fast, I had that in my way, I knocked that over. That happened. Clean it up and let's get back to what we're doing. So that bully self-talk, that voice kind of just keeps poking at us, and it almost won't let it go. Whereas the helpful self-talk that serves us goes, that happened, what do I need to do about it? And then simply take action and move on with what comes next. Because our self-talk is often lying to us, and we believe it. Mm-hmm. And we often believe it for good reason. We're our own worst critics because we want to show up in a certain way. We want to be able to be helpful and be valuable and be smart and all of those things. So it makes perfect sense. But we also need to cut ourselves some slack sometimes and know that that self-talk is a wonderful tool if you start to be aware of what are you saying to yourself? Is it helping you or not? If it's not, change the script. What else could you say differently? And if it is, keep saying it. And a couple of different ways to really do that, because sometimes for a lot of people it's easier said than done, just to kind of shift how you think all of a sudden. But a couple of easy ways to think about this, to make it a lot simpler to do, is start to talk to yourself in your own head as if you were talking to a friend. Because we will beat ourselves up in our head about things and won't let it go, but we'd never say that to a friend or a coworker, right? If we're going to get up, a lot of what I do is I work with people on public speaking. People who have to now get up in front of their team, or get up in front of a sales group, or get up in front of investors, and they don't like public speaking, and they get nervous and they worry. And what happens is we get so focused on us and what might we do wrong that we don't always give ourselves the opportunity to show up and do something wonderfully right. And so we get in our heads, and oftentimes you might think, oh, they're all judging me. And that is exacerbating the nerves and the anxiety. The reality is they're not judging you. They're looking for you to help them. Your self-talk voice said, they're judging you. That's a bully. That's a bully that does that and kind of lights that fire sometimes. And then we go, are they? And we listen to that voice and we go with it sometimes. So, you know, a friend who said, "Oh, I'm going to go out there and they're all judging me." You'd never say, "Yeah, they probably are." You would instead say something like, "You know what? You know your stuff. You're here to help them. What do they need from you? Go out there and help them. Give them what you need. You're really good at what you do." We'll say that to someone else and we believe it honestly, but we don't say it to ourselves. And so if you think about how can I talk to myself as I would talk to a friend, instantly your self-talk gets more positive, it gets more supportive. It's going to serve you so much better because you'll feel more confident. The voice you're hearing is going to be saying, "You can do this, just go do it. You know your stuff." And it helps you to drop some of those other things that really takes a knock at our confidence and our self-esteem and self-worth sometimes. We start to believe in ourselves a little more. Um, Another great technique that is amazingly simple and kind of fun, but it really helps a lot of people in shifting that self-talk voice. That negative Nelly, that negative self-talk voice in your head, give it a name. So let's say we call it Joe, right? Whatever. So when you start to hear that voice come in and go, "Oh, you're not going to do well at this. You're going to bomb. Oh, no, look at them. They're judging me. Oh, you knocked the coffee off the table again. You're such a klutz." Start to separate that voice from yourself. That's now Joe, right? And I can take control by going, "Joe, I just knocked the coffee off the table. It's not a big deal. I've got stuff to do." Or, "Joe, they're not judging me. Actually, I know a little bit more than them. That's why they asked me to talk to them and share some things with them. So let me go out and help them. It's not about me at all. Let me go give them something that they can use." When you start to when you name that voice and start to separate yourself from that voice a little bit, two really cool things happen. One, you start to stand up for yourself, which if we don't separate ourselves from that voice, a lot of times we feel like we are that voice. That voice becomes our identity, which is why we trust it and believe it so much. It begins to separate it. And in order to say, "I don't know that I agree with that, Joe," we have to stand up for ourselves a little bit, which instantly gives us a little bit of a boost from self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-worth. We understand there's a value to us, which if we just let that negative self-talk run rampant, that really kind of gets pushed down quite a bit. The other thing is you really get used to understanding how different those two voices are. And when you put them in stark contrast, you go, "Wow, Joe, you're always just poking at me. Would you cut it out?" And you start to align with this voice more and more, and you start to believe it and trust it more. And so a couple of techniques just how to really make that shift. Because again, with self-talk, we're not with anybody all the time. We're not in a situation all the time. The things that we think are causing a lot of our stress and anxiety that are outside of ourselves, we're not with them constantly. But this voice, we are each with all the time. And so if we start by working on this voice and how the voice that's constantly with us is lifting us up, at least as much, if not more, as it is pushing us down, it gives you a wonderful place to start, some space where you can show up in a more confident way and really start to think of your true value, which everybody has, but doesn't always allow to get out.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yes. That's just a huge yes. And what I really get is that what are you listening to? And there is a difference. If you've got voices that you can distinguish, then you begin to say, "Oh yeah, that one's going to help me. Oh, that one's not going to help me." And I like the idea of really separating out and identifying those voices.
Doreen, I love what you just said. It's not about what you're thinking or what the voice is telling you. It's which one you choose to listen to. That's really the key. Is you can have both of those things, and we all have that self-talk voice. We all have that running commentary of our lives in our heads constantly. Who are you choosing to listen to? And that's key. You just hit it on the nose, I think.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. I can talk to you all day.
I could share all day, so
I
you need to
know.
cut me off.
I know. You have videos on YouTube, and you have your books, and you have your blog. I just think you're a wonderful resource, and I so appreciate you taking time with me today so that I can share you with my audience, and the other experts are going to be able to learn from you too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the invite to share. And I'm anxious again to learn from everybody else as well. If I can ever be of help, feel free, connect or reach out.
And we reach out to robinjsachs.com. Is that it?
Yes,
Good.
absolutely. Thank you.
Great.
And you
All
can
right.
get me on all the usual suspects, the LinkedIns and Facebooks and everything else of the world. So
Social media. Okay, Robin. Thank you so much.
thank you, Doreen. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.